Starting off February with a $288 loss on the Dow. What's going on, guys? Welcome on to the recap. Let's cover it. So this was taken one trade, one account, 25K account. So I risked just over 1%, it looks like, by the end of it all. So we lost 288 on the trade, and this was on the 1 hour time frame. Bear flag 1 hour time frame. I'll explain the thought process here. And I think this was kind of like, I think a little bit of this was partially because of what was kind of going on in my head, and a little bit, not a little bit of this, but the trade setup was there. You can make the argument that it was not like perfect. I would like to see like maybe another candle or two develop, but you'll see what I mean. So let's set the stage here. We go into the Sunday, and essentially, right, here's what's going on. We finish Friday right in here, and then we have this gap down. I'm like, oh shit. So tariffs and stuff, I assume, right, is what the narrative is. I don't really give a shit what the fuck the narrative is, right? But it's tariffs is the narrative today. That's the story. So tariffs over the weekend. Exactly why I talked about, I think in the last recaps, you know, not holding these over the weekend. No need to take an over weekend hold on something with potential risk. And of course, this weekend, most weekends nothing happens. But then there's a weekend like this where we have the tariff situation, and okay, or whatever the situation is, news. It's news. It's a catalyst, whatever. And we have a bigger move down that if I was in those longs on, I think it was gold and MS, they would have both taken full losses, where I could have just taken the smaller losses on Friday and then move on clean slate. That's what I decided to do. In this case, it would have worked out. Some cases it won't work out, you know, so it goes, you know, it can go both ways, but I don't want to take on the extra risk. So we take on this idea, right? We come into here. I'll explain the setup in a second, but you can kind of see how it already lost. And it could be setting up for, honestly, a trade here today. And I might take this trade today. We'll see what happens at the open. Still, the market hasn't opened yet when I'm filming the video, so we'll see. But the idea was, we had a very similar situation last weekend. So the market closes on Friday somewhere in here, a little bit of a pullback, and then we have a gap down. This is all Sunday night. This is all overnight Sunday night as futures open up, and then we bounce back and have a big bounce back day Monday. Now, maybe we have the exact same thing happen today. I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe not. But my view was, okay, this is a bigger move down, a bigger gap down, and it dropped us right into the same exact area that we had that low. So that's an influential spot. We break that, good opportunity for downside. You zoom this thing out and look at the volume profile, and there was nothing that was super concerning to me as I zoomed this out. If we take a look, we'll let it reload here. There was like nothing that I really was worried about until down in here. So I figured this is actually a really good spot for a target or for a trade. It just didn't work. Simple as that. Now, the second piece was I do have, or I'm in another trade, or I think two trades actually, that were long going into the weekend that were still holding up their bigger picture swings. There's nothing crazy going on there. But I was thinking to myself, okay, here we are. I remember specifically what happened last weekend. You know, I went to bed, we were down a little bit, and then I went to bed and we had a much bigger drawdown in the middle of the night. So I said, okay, my setup is there. Let's take this trade, set it, go to bed, which is what I did. I guess in the past that could be a problem. Some people can't handle that. I don't really give a shit at this point in time. I set my trades, put my stop loss in, take profit in, and whatever happens, happens. So I go to bed and I'm like, well, if we have a huge gap down overnight and we get crushed, it will kind of hedge me from my longs that I'm currently in, and this will work. So it'll end up kind of, you know, canceling each other out, and then we kind of, you know, clear the longs out at the open if it's a really bad day. Take the break even on one, take a loss in the other one, move on, take the win here, and then we kind of have a clean slate going into the rest of the month. That was kind of the thought process. It did not happen that way, so we kind of teased into, you know, breaking this thing down, and then it bounced back and hit my stop. So simple as that. So really what the idea was, breaking candles. So I had drawn out a couple of lines, and we broke down underneath both of those lines. First line was this move down, followed by this bounce back and consolidation in here. Once we cleared the low, I wanted to get in, which is what I did. So I got in on this candle right here, on the breaking candle, which ended up clearing not only this low, but also the last Friday or last Sunday night's low. And then it broke it again on the next candle, or like an hour or two later, which was at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock. I was in bed. And then it kind of just fucked around, and then boom, big boner candle back to the upside at 3 a.m. which stopped me out. Honestly, it was kind of close. Looking back, it's possible this trade could almost still be on had I had my stop a bit higher, but I did not. I put it at the top of the breaking candle low. Again, either way, would I still want to be in? No. If I was still in because let's say it didn't hit my stop loss, let's say just this candle went like right to here and then it came back, I would leave it on, but it's again a complete toss up. I'm not seeing the momentum that I want to see. Ideally, what I would have wanted to see was this kind of push, maybe consolidate a bit more, and then get that second push and go down. And it just didn't happen. So that's just, okay, it didn't happen. It is what it is. Move on, take the L. That's it. Nothing crazy. So that was that. Going back to this too, if you look at the 5 minute, I thought it looked really good, to be honest with you. So as I was watching this, so essentially this is just kind of looking at different time frames to get a frame for like what you're looking for. So the big move down followed by that consolidation, which is exactly kind of what I want to see, staying weak, staying, with the pressure on the bottom of that consolidation after the big candle to the downside. And then breaking that consolidation. So you're breaking that. Okay, boom. Okay, entry coming in here. Great entry. Now, secondarily, so we had this consolidation going on. Then you have this looking like a kind of like a little bit of a wedge right in here, which is usually when you zoom down to a 5 minute from these bigger time frame setups. I love those. When you get that, it's usually very, very good. Again, when I say usually very, very good, that's cool, but doesn't mean shit because anything can happen, right? Doesn't mean the reality is that as I look back on this trade, I look at and I say, like, am I putting myself in a higher probability of winning than losing? Absolutely, based off what I've seen, based off what my data has told me and my experience and what I have seen. These are good situations and they tend to work out in my favor from looking at past trade recaps. Go back and watch. I've got, I don't know, fucking hundreds of recaps now over the past 2 years. So this is kind of the whole point. So looking good, and then it broke. And now I wasn't watching this. I was looking back. I'm getting a chance to look back at it. Now we look good. We break this little wedge, this consolidation wedge, and we go to a new low. And if I was up, I'd be thinking, oh, this is great. We're looking really good. And then it just didn't work. Whoop. What are you gonna do? So that's really the deal. Now, do you get in again? I don't know. The open could get kind of nuts. Who knows what happens at the open? But that's the trade that was set up. I still think that now you'll see this recap after the fact, so whatever will happen will have happened already. But I still think this is an interesting area, and I wouldn't be opposed to trades below that level. But we'll see what happens today at the open. I'm not going to trade the open, but we'll give it the first 15 minutes or so and see. We might pop up, might rip right back to the downside. We'll see. I think we're at a pretty interesting spot. You can go to the S&P as well and see that we pretty much did this touch the same level on the S&P from last weekend. And then if you go down to the NASDAQ, not quite that low on the NASDAQ because that was a bigger drawdown last Sunday night, but similar. So you can see my thought process was, oh, wow, what happened last Sunday? Not that the same thing has to happen again, but I was like, in case of that situation happening again, for example, I remember looking at the NASDAQ and going, we had the gap down, we had a little consolidation, then it had a huge move, in the wee hours of the morning, huge, and it bounced back, but a huge move. So I was thinking, okay, well, if that occurs, let's capitalize, or let's be there to capitalize on it. We just didn't get the same move, which is not so super surprising because like the market doesn't always do the same exact thing. Fair, but that's the trade recap. So I'll leave a link to TradeZella where I track everything down below. And standard trade, nothing crazy. We'll see what happens the rest of the month, but obviously not off to the best start of all time. But lots of trades I'm sure to have this month. So see you in the next one. Peace.